Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started today. I would first like to welcome everybody to our winter technical briefs. My name is Jennifer Hammer. I work for the Conservation Foundation and I coordinate the Salt Smart Collaborative. The collaborative has really become a kind of a clearinghouse of information for various groups and entities doing winter snow and ice removal, looking for different ways to reduce salt, be it parking lots, on roads. So we have information for public road agencies, residents, private de-icers. I'm going to talk a little bit more about some of those resources at the end, but we're going to go ahead and jump right in. And I'd like to introduce Scott Weber and Rob Lowth from the Village of Hanover Park as our presenters today. And we're going to be talking about the benefits of segmented blades. This is our first kind of experiment with doing a video via Zoom, and we have a few challenges. So we have a couple options. I'm gonna start playing the video here. If it's not coming through really well, we had some issues this morning where you could hear the sound, but the video was a little choppy. I also threw the link to the video, the YouTube link in the chat. And so if it's not coming through real clear this way, if you want to jump out of, so don't end it, but open up another browser page and do the video, the YouTube video. It's about 10 minutes long, and then come back and we'll do some Q&A with Scott and Rob. But we really wanted to be able to kind of show you what's going on right at the plow. So that's where we were hoping the video would be kind of the best approach to that. So I'm going to jump into the video here. Like I said, if you're having issues on your end, the link is in the chat. And then you can kind of come back in after the video, and we're going to kind of go through and discuss some things and have both Rob and Scott here to answer any questions.
Good morning. I'm Scott Weber with the Village of Hanover Park. I am the Streets and Forestry Supervisor. I'm just starting or finishing my 30th year here with the village.
Good morning, I'm Rob Lowth. I'm the Fleet Service Manager here at Hanover Park. I am 15 years in as a mechanic, and I've been the Fleet Manager for the last almost 3.
Rob and I were asked to do a talk here this morning on segmented blades. We at the Village of Hanover Park got into this about 5 years ago, and what actually brought us to this was the wear and the breakage of the blades. We've noticed a lot of uneven wear on the mild carbon steel blades. Hence, we had poor cleaning. We trailed a lot of snow. We had a lot of repairs. We also noticed that there was an awful lot of vibration and noise, which relates to the fatigue for the drivers. And we had great hopes of reducing that. And with the cleaning, the better cleaning, leaving less material, less tracking, we would be using less salt. That's our ultimate goal.
Like Scott said, we've been using these blades for about 5 years now, and there was a bit of a hesitation with an initial investment on them because they are more expensive. We use PolarFlex brand 1-foot segmented blades on our front plows. The package price for one plow is approximately $2,700 versus about $850 for a setup like what you see there with a steel blade and 2 carbide pieces. What we've learned is, and we're continuing to learn, is these blades are far outlasting what the steel blades were. We were forced to replace steel blades not just because they just were old and wore out, but because they would wear at uneven rates. One side might be thinner than the other. Maybe a section in the middle gets broken. Maybe they break off a corner piece. We had to replace that $850 set a couple times a year on each truck. And if something minor broke on a plow, maybe the carbide piece broke on the end. Or for example, on this truck, the center of the blade is an inch thinner than the 2 edges. Once that point got too thin, I'm forced to replace all the pieces as a set. I can't replace just one corner piece or just the blade because they all have to be the same height. With the PolarFlex setup, it was sold to us as one of the selling points was if you hit a manhole and if you damage the blade and you break a section, you can replace just one tooth. But knock on wood, we haven't had to do that yet. Our replacement on these, the only issues, the only items we've had to replace is the corner piece will wear out. It is not a carbide blade saver, it's just a corner piece. And it can be replaced without replacing the blade. It does not need to be replaced as a set. All right, so this is just as an example for uneven wear on a steel blade. If I measure the middle of the blade, it's 2.5 inches from a reference point. And if I measure from the outside edge of the blade, it's 3.5 inches from the same reference point. And it's the same on the other side. Once this blade is ready to be replaced, I'm essentially going to be throwing away two $350 carbide pieces because they can't be reused on a new blade because of height difference. This is a perfect example of something that is going to cost us $850 to repair during the season, and yet we did not get full life out of that blade. So for an example, the same issue with this Polar Flex plow, this is our newest plow. It went through last winter. It has approximately 1,000 miles of plow time on it. If I measure from a reference point on this one, I'm 1.5 inches, 1.5 inches, and 1.5 inches.
And if we took a brand new section and slid it up into where that one's been removed, it will measure identically the same 1.5 inches. So with 850 miles to 1,000 miles on it, we're showing absolutely zero wear on the part.
All right, so these are 1-foot segmented blades. As you know, we were originally sold on these as they could be repaired in one section. We've had 5 years, and we have yet to take out a section until this presentation. So we pulled sections out of 3 of our trucks, the same section from the same places on this truck, and we were actually quite surprised at what we saw. We're trying to gauge the life of this plow system and how long we expect it to last. And our oldest truck, which is 4 years old, has roughly 5,500 plowing miles on it. Our newest truck, this one right here, has a little under 1,000 miles on it. So you can see this is what a new blade looks like, a brand new section. And this is what a section looks like after 1,000 miles. And this is what a section looks like after 5,000 miles. All right, this is just another example of 5,500 miles, brand new, 825 miles. Those segments look virtually identical. Okay, so this is the comparison of a brand new segment with a segment that has over 5,000 miles on it, 5,000 plowing miles. As you can see, the mild steel has worn off just due to the angle attack of the plow, but the actual carbide in the center is still roughly almost the exact same height as it was when it was new. This is a comparison of a 5,000 miles of plowing versus a little under 1,000 miles of plowing. Again, they wear off the edge based on the angle of attack of the plow, of the steel, but if you notice, the carbide center is again just about the exact same height. And there's 4,000 miles difference between those two segments. So what we're learning is we were hoping for a usable life of these of about 4 times what a mild steel blade would be. We're learning this is probably going to be 6+ times the life of a mild steel blade.
The results that we achieved over 5 years of studying is that with the segmented blade, which has the ability to move up and down compared to a fixed blade that would wear uneven, we are able to clean the roadway better. This one could possibly leave anywhere between a 1/2 inch and 1 inch of snow in the middle of the road, which would require extra passes or extra salt. This blade that runs smooth, stays flat, because it does move up and down, will clean much better, less passes, less salt used. Rob spoke earlier about longer life, indicating we're hoping now to be 6 to 1. This blade here set up is just under $1,000. If we replace 6 of those, it's about $6,000. plus labor, plus extra material in inventory, handling the blade, safety concerns, compared to $2,700 for this. So we're anticipating a huge savings over the life of the blade. And if we get even higher numbers than 6-to-1, we will be reaping the benefits even greater. One of the things that I was really shocked with was the reduction of noise and vibration. My operators can go out in this truck today, they'll put the blade down on the ground, and we run belly blades, and this one has a sectional belly blade in it as well, very similar to this, but by a different company. They will adjust their blades continually because they don't hear them. So with that being said, we did some studies. On our very first trucks before we went to sectional blades, we were getting about 100 decibels inside the cab of the truck. That was with a mild steel blade, mild steel underbody, and carbide end pieces and carbide wear plates. 100 decibels at 15 minutes is permissible exposure time limit. That means anything over 15 minutes, you're damaging your hearing. When we went to a PolarFlex front blade and a carbide underbody system, we were able to lower that number from 100 to 90. 90 gives you 2 hours of permissible time before you're doing any damage. Now with this truck set up exactly the way it is, with the PolarFlex nose blade and a Tuca underbody, which is also a rubber mounted blade system on our belly blades, we reduced the level to 80 decibels inside the cab. And with 80 decibels, that gives the operator 12 hours of permissible exposure without any damage to his hearing. So that was a huge benefit, safety for our operators. Just the fatigue of that grinding noise for 12, 14, 16 hours is incredible. It really beats a driver up. And again, when these guys get in this truck, they put those blades down and they have to adjust them periodically because it seems like they are not even on the ground. Huge, huge benefit. And again, the dollar figure savings. I'm anticipating somewhere between $3,000 and $4,000 in savings between the 2 units over the life of the unit. In the future, we're moving forward. Every truck will come with a sectional plow blade that is encapsulated in rubber. The mounting system is in rubber, which is the best part about the reduction of vibration and the noise level. We were going to continue to move forward with these, and that's about all we have. We would love to take your questions.
All right. So we can do this in a couple different ways. Either you can throw questions into the chat. There is also a Q&A window that I can track here and pass on to both Rob and Scott. So if you want to go ahead and put questions into the chat or in the Q&A. And so I have a question from Carl. What is the initial cost of the PolarFlex blade?
We paid about $2,700 for the initial.
And so from, well, I guess you guys haven't had to actually do any replacement, but when you do have to replace the steel blades, what kind of like downtime do you have to do that with that plow? Like, especially if you're having to do it in the middle of a snowstorm?
I think the downtime of replacing either one of the blades is going to be about the same. We like to have 2 people to do it for safety reasons because they are kind of heavy to move around. But we have, like I said, we haven't had to repair or replace any damaged parts on the PolarFlex yet. We pulled those 3 segments out, a segment out of 3 plows, and we were a little worried about how easy that was going to go. And bolts came out with an impact and just wiggling with the pry bar and some taps of a hammer, and it slid right out. The rubber sleeve slid right out. So replacing just one piece is going to be a half hour.
Okay. Versus like how long would it be to replace if you had to replace a steel blade during a snowstorm?
Steel blade would be two mechanics. Once they got the truck in and started working on it, it'd be approximately about an hour to change the blade, bolts, and end pieces.
Let's see, any other questions? Are the corner pieces that are used with the segmented blade, are those made out of carbide, or are those just the metal, the steel?
The corner pieces that we use, Polar Flex sells their own version of it, and it is just like a grenade of steel. I don't believe there's any carbide in it. And it's only a curb runner. It does not make contact with the pavement, so it's not a blade saver at all. So it's not a blade saver.
Here, do we had any other questions from the group out there? So when you are, I gotta hear another question. When your plowing crew uses both the front plow and the under scraper, are they both down at the same time?
That's a good question. Over the years, when I first started, we were just getting into underbody scrapers, and it was kind of taboo. Nobody wanted to use them. Time passed, and then these guys wanted to plow everything with underbodies up to 8 to 10 inches of snow, which is way too much for an underbody. And as time has progressed now they're running both blades down. They run front blades as well as underbody scrapers. It does a lot better job on cleaning up corners and such. So yeah, we are running both blades at the same time.
Have you noticed any increased pavement damage with the Polar Flex blades?
No, actually, since the blades float and move up and down individually, we've noticed no pavement damage. Even when we run over old pavement where we rut near the curb line, we'll get ruts from garbage trucks, school buses and such, and I'm sure most towns get it. These blades will actually ride down a little bit and do a better job cleaning that rather than leaving snow inside that rut.
How do they work on crowned roads?
Just the same, being segmented, and they move. 2 or 3 sections could be up while the rest are staying at the fully down position. They work really well. And we don't get that adverse wear that we would on a mild carbon steel blade. When you run over a crown or too close to the center, you'll notice wear, kind of a hollow in the blade section. We don't notice that with these.
Good. All right, is there any other, if there's no other questions, I'm gonna just, let's see here, wait, one more. What are your normal plowing speeds? Are they any different with these plows?
No, we are 90% residential. All of our speed limits in town are 20 miles per hour. We only have about 5 or 6 streets that have speed limits closer to 30. We've gotten up and over 30 miles an hour. So we try to plow at the speed limit. We try not to exceed that. Wet, heavy snow, sometimes it takes a little bit more speed to clear the snow up over the curb, but we try to stay at the speed limit of 1.
If there are any other questions, after you go through and maybe watch the video again or have questions later, you can send them to me. I can pass them on to Scott and Rob. I will also, when we post the webinar to the website, we'll include both Rob and Scott's email addresses, so that if you have think about any questions down the road, or as you're potentially looking to make a change in your equipment and you have some additional questions, definitely Scott and Rob are available for that. And I'd definitely like to kind of put a shout out to both Scott and Steve McCracken on our staff. They've kind of been a 2-man show talking about some of these winter practices at several different local conferences, as well as even sort of in person, with a particular community or group. So, definitely a big thanks to you, Scott, for helping to share that knowledge across the region. All right, I'm Gonna close things out here. Caught up. There we go. So just a reminder that we have one more of our winter briefs on November 17th, so next Tuesday, the fine art of brine making with Rob from Henderson Products. The links on saltsmart.org are there to register for that webinar. Like I mentioned before, there is a number of other resources on saltsmart.org. All of the videos from these trainings will be posted here. We have some other materials geared towards public roads agencies, as well as private de-icers and homeowners. We also have a whole section on outreach materials. So as you're looking to share information with your residents, we have blog posts, we have social media posts, we have some posters, we have some new materials available as well that I didn't have up here in this screenshot. So definitely visit saltsmart.org. If you come across a resource that you think is really useful, if you want to send it my way, we'll get a link posted to it. Or if your community has done an interesting video or way to share information with your residents, pass that out along as well, because we'd really like this to be kind of a clearinghouse for information. So again, I'd like to thank Scott and Rob, and we will get kind of a final posting. The link that was here was kind of our draft link, but we'll get a final link up for the webinar that would include answers to the questions and things. We should have that up soon at saltsmart.org. I believe it'll also be on the DuPage River Salt Creek Work Group website as well. Again, thank you to Scott and Rob. If you have questions, comments, if you have suggestions, we're definitely interested in continuing to do these winter technical briefs. We would do them all winter long if we had more suggestions or people who would like to share their experiences, whether it be in person, a PowerPoint type presentation, and maybe we'll get better at some of the video stuff as well. So thank you again, and we will hopefully see you all next week.